That is jacking off!
Warning. This video contains spoilers for Sonic Shadow Generation. If you would rather avoid these spoilers, I suggest you click off. With this in mind, I do not intend to discredit the company of Sega, their writers, or the game itself. I also do not intend to offend anyone who likes the game. That being said, thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoy. So unless you've been living under a rock, or you're not a Sonic fan, you may have heard that Mephiles the Dark is returning in Sonic Shadow Generation. But there are a few things to do with his inclusion that bother me. Specifically 4 things. Number 1, the opening cutscene. As you can see here, the Scepter of Darkness is here. And it disappears for some reason. Why? Because if the Time Eater brought Mephiles back on purpose, why would he bring the Scepter of Darkness back? But also, the Scepter of Darkness broke twice. Number 2, Shadow seals Mephiles by kicking him into the ground. Somehow. How does that work? That's not how he seals Mephiles at any of the 2 points in the story where we see him do it. So, I'm sorry, what? Also, Mephiles said himself,
"What may have worked 10 years ago no longer does."
Which, for those who can't put 2 and 2 together, means that the Scepter of Darkness doesn't work on him anymore. Therefore, he shouldn't have been sealed in the first place, and shouldn't have been sealed at the end of the boss fight in Sonic Shadow Generations. As well as the fact Shadow needed Chaos Control both times to seal Mephiles. What makes it different in this fight? All this to say, what the fuck are the rules, damn it? So I'm here to give a rewrite. Don't like it. Fuck you, and don't complain. Fuck off, goodbye. Okay, let's get into it. Diving right into it, we swap around the roles of Silver and Blaze. You restore Silver in Crisis City, and Blaze is the boss fight in Sonic's story. This'll make more sense later. Mephiles will also be taking Black Doom's place as the main villain of Shadow's story. With that out the way, let's get into the actual story. The opening cutscene begins as normal, and we cut to the Space Colony arc, which the first act stays the same as it usually does, until the mini-boss against Doom's Eye, which is replaced with Mephiles' Shadow minion things. And then after that mini-boss, the stage continues as normal. As it turns out, these are here as a result of Eggman testing the Time Eater's abilities. The cutscene where Shadow meets the Time Eater and is teleported to white space stays the same. After Shadow is teleported to white space, the screen fades to black as Mephiles' iconic laugh is heard in the background. The end of Act 2 is when you actually encounter Mephiles. His back turned to the camera and holding a Chaos Emerald in his hand. Oh, how ironic fate can be, as it brings us face to face once again, Shadow the Hedgehog. Quite amusing, don't you think? You. Mephiles turns around to look at Shadow, and using the Chaos Emerald's power, summons the Bio-Lizard, but to fight Shadow for him. As much as I'd love to watch you suffer, I quite frankly don't have the time. I'm very busy, as you can probably guess. Farewell, Shadow. We will meet again. That is, if you manage to beat the one who came before you. The boss fight against the Bio-Lizard remains unchanged from the original fight in Sonic X Shadow Generations, and Shadow returns to White Space upon defeating it. Shadow finds Omega outside the entrance to the Space Colony Ark, and Omega tells him his sensors are picking up a Chaos Emerald nearby. Our duo follow the readings picked up by Omega's sensors, which lead them through Rail Canyon, to which they find not Mephiles, but an automated version of the Egg Emperor, which initiates a boss fight. Upon its defeat, the Egg Emperor drops a Chaos Emerald, of which it was being powered by, seemingly so they couldn't use Omega's sensors to track Mephiles. They take the Chaos Emerald and return to White Space. After returning, Shadow spots Eggman testing more of the Time Eater's abilities. In a panic, Eggman summons a horde of Shadow androids commanded by Metal Sonic, and a fight ensues. Shadow has to dodge Metal Sonic's attacks whilst taking out the Shadow androids and launching them at Metal, and upon defeat, Metal Sonic retreats alongside Eggman, revealing the entrance to the city of Sunset Heights. During their journey through the city, they hear a familiar sound. The assault model Death Egg robots in the area reactivate, and it becomes a mad dash for the end of the stage, each to avoid getting squashed by the giant robots. While Shadow races through the city, Omega provides cover fire, taking down the assault model Death Egg robot. In Act 1, you play as Shadow racing through the city, while in Act 2, you play as Omega taking out the assault model Death Egg robots before lending control back to Shadow to finish off the stage. Awaiting them at the end of the stage is Mephiles. We meet again, Shadow the Hedgehog. Fate brings us together again. But unfortunately for fate, I don't have time to deal with you. The Doctor has plans for me, and my work here has been completed. So long, Shadow. Mephiles attempts to warp away using the Chaos Emerald that he has in his possession, but Shadow kicks him down and Mephiles drops the emerald. A boss fight follows as it becomes a battle for who gets to keep the emerald. The Mephiles boss fight plays out the same as the way it does when you fight Mephiles for the first time in Sonic 06, so there's nothing to discuss on that front. Upon his defeat, Mephiles fades away as Eggman appears holding the Phantom Ruby. A brilliant success! Now I'll be able to crush Sonic and bring to life my genius plan. A portal opens up behind Eggman as the Time Eater snatches him up. Shadow uses Chaos Control to teleport back to white space. The cutscene where Sonic and Shadow fight and Sonic receives the fake Chaos Emerald, thinking it's the real one, takes place as normal. And it brings us to the next stage, Kingdom Valley, where after Act 1, Shadow meets up with Silver. Shadow, there you are! Silver, what are you doing here? I have reasons to believe Eggman is trying to summon the flames of disaster. In that case, we have no time to lose. The next act of Kingdom Valley is a tag team level where you can freely switch between Shadow and Silver where you want, whenever you want in the stage. At the end of the stage, the two who split off, Shadow to go look for Mephiles and Silver to help Omega look for the rest of the Chaos Emeralds. Shadow searches the chemical plant only to find Metal Overlord waiting for him. A boss fight ensues, of which the only thing changed is the use of Shadow's Doom powers, which the Surf ability is instead replaced with Shadow flying using his hovershoes. After the fight, Shadow returns to white space to find Eggman whilst trying to bring back Iblis. Instead, summons the final stage, Radical Highway. Before entering the stage, Silver and Omega return with Chaos Emeralds. Only one more emerald to go. The trio make their way through the stage and encounter the mini-boss, Black Bull, a phantom copy of the Black Bull, enhanced by the Phantom Ruby. As Shadow works to defeat Black Bull, Silver and Omega work together to destroy the Phantom Ruby, therefore weakening the Phantom copy. Waiting for them at the end of the stage is Rouge the Bat. Looking for something, boys? She tosses the final Chaos Emerald over to Shadow. Our four heroes make their way to the final stand against Eggman when Mephiles blocks the path. Shadow hands the Chaos Emeralds over to Silver to look after while he fights Mephiles. This fight stays true to when you fight Mephiles in Sonic X Shadow Generations, except remove the Squid Doom power segments. After Mephiles is defeated, Eggman finally manages to summon Iblis. Yes! At last we shall become one. Iblis! It is time we join with each other once more. Mephiles the Dark and Iblis the Flames of Disaster, two halves of the sun god Solaris, merge to one to create the god of the sun once more. Shadow and Silver used the Chaos Emeralds to turn into Super Shadow and Super Silver, and so the final boss against Solaris takes place. You start off by defeating Solaris in the present. You can swap between Shadow and Silver at any time, and your goal is to defeat Solaris in all three timelines, past, present, and future. After defeating Solaris in one timeline, Shadow and Silver use Chaos Control to travel to another. You can choose which timeline you'd like to fight it in. Shadow, using his general abilities such as Chaos Spear, Chaos Blast, etc. And Silver fights using his telekinetic abilities such as throwing debris and the Psycho Knife from from the boss fight against Silver in Sonic Generations. After defeating Solaris in all three timelines, Mephiles and Iblis split. With no lava around for Iblis to reform itself in, he dissolves and disappears from the timeline permanently. No! I will return to finish what I started. I won't stop until I've won. You have your little victory for now. It won't last forever. Curse you, Shadow the Hedgehog. Mephiles retreats, and so does Eggman. I'll have better luck defeating Sonic. Rouge sneakily gives Sonic the Chaos Emeralds without him noticing. And that's the end of Shadow's story. If you want to see me rewrite Sonic's story, like, subscribe, and comment.